Evil Geniuses embodied Leroy Jenkins in their last game, managing to pull a wonderful last-second victory from the jaws of defeat, taking Immortals down for a massive upset win. But if you're worried that's all the sick League of Legends you got today, we still have chance for exactly one more game. Before we get on to that, of course, Coco, any trailing thoughts from this?
I'm just a little flabbergasted on how efficient Evil Geniuses was able to pull out this win. Immortals, it's much more of a sour note, but this is something where I'm going to have to go back myself and do a lot of review on how this really all came to fruition. But for that, we're going to have to get this day all done and wrapped up in a nice little bow. So all we got to do is take care of FlyQuest Academy and CLG Academy.
Yeah, with LCS Academy is going a little late. We got a late night show now. And of course, this game was supposed to happen at the very start of the day. We did have some tech issues. CLG Academy's Team Luke was experiencing internet issues and will be unable to play the match versus FlyQuest as a result. CLG will use Wild Turtle as an emergency sub. And because of this, they will lose their second phase 2 ban. That's their second phase 2 ban. Additionally, to prevent further delays, the game has been moved all the way back to here.
Yep. We have upgraded from what was once just a podcast for you and I, TJ, to a complete late night show with possibly a live band.
Think we need a band. Yeah, I'm glad we're on the same page. We need a band. There's only one thing that can bring Jazzy wonder. I don't know how to segue this. It's FlyQuest Academy. They're going to be team number 1 in this final match of the day, playing against CLG. And we talked him to death in our extended podcast at the beginning of the day, but the storyline goes as follows. FlyQuest struggled during the laning phase, but once they get out of it, their team fighting looks real good. We want to see NXI in particular step up.
And this is something where you're going to have an even bigger new game plus now for FlyQuest Academy going up against the substitution of Wild Turtle now. So this is where you have a massive hill to climb with not only Tomo coming in with a new support from Dreams, but everyone else is going to have to adjust to that accordingly. Sure, you get the free ban, but that is not going to be going too far because it comes at the end, sort of the tail end of the draft. And this is where we can either continue the FlyQuest narrative of this team has sort of lost its sense of identity and has sort of been kerfuffled a bit, where Immortals had that game, sort of like an understanding of how each one of their players works in tandem with each other. This is where NXI is just kind of lost in the jungle at the moment. Kumo is sort of trying to push the attention away from him, but just with how their team has been performing and with how reactive they were in week 1, it's left the rest of FlyQuest in shambles, where CLG on the other side of the map can say, you know what, we have our own understanding for ourselves. Brandini has been dominating in the top side of the map, and with Wild Turtle coming in as a substitute, it's a little unfortunate, but it's still a pretty good upgrade nonetheless.
Yeah, Team Luke, of course, was a substitute himself. He was subbing in for Katsurugi, a former Chiefs player in the OPL that hasn't been able to make the journey across the Pacifics yet. And that has been kind of one of the weaknesses for CLG. That bot lane missing a spring in its step, but they've made up for it in their previous games, in their upset win versus C9 Academy, through their mid lane RJS, and as you say, through Brandini up top.
And that's where I think we need to set our eyes first in this game, is the performance of these solo lanes of Kumo and Triple versus RJS and Brandini. As much as it is a differential in that bottom side of the map, these are the key components for both teams to really either make or break their own narratives. And looking into just sort of the favorites of this match per se with CLG Academy on red side, I'll be looking to see how well the rest of the team, and specifically Keel, is going to be able to complement his laning phase to get out of there and then start to push forward into a more successful composition.
And I do want to draw on that because I think that Keel has been the most chaotic part of this roster.
Yes.
You may know him under the name Frosty Nomad. He played in collegiate and amateur for the last couple of seasons, and Keel has done a really good job in the jungle, but has had a couple of really disastrous team fights. And the combination of that makes it rather hard to focus on the really good jungle plays, but it should be noted, he played a game versus 100 Thieves Kenvi, and absolutely dominated him in the jungle. Cleaned him up, got some solo kills, out-jungled him massively, stole away several buffs. If we see that kill consistently, this is a terrifying roster. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten that consistent jungle domination, and what's worse, we are occasionally seeing Keel miss disastrous teamfight ultimates and ruin big opportunities for his team, and that is something that needs to be cleaned up.
It's something that I hope CLG Academy addressed over the week going into today's match, because like you mentioned, it is such a disastrous factor within their ranks that it has to be addressed immediately. It's something where you look at Keel's performance and his history. He's someone who's never been at the top of his game, and he's never been someone who's really shut games out either. He's been that key component of either flipping a coin and calling the game before that coin even lands heads or tails, and having that an unknown factor in your roster gives a very chaotic nature to not only the draft but to the early game stages. Like, if you can win or lose the game within the first 10 minutes, it doesn't give a lot of time for CLG Academy to address their problems step by step.
Yeah, CLG do have an all-star bottom lane now.
Yep.
Don't know how that worked out, but Wild Turtle and Hooks down there, that is an additional threat that merits talking about. Hooks is, of course, formerly known as Auto, was the support player over on 100 Next, where they were a dominant presence in teamfights. Now playing into Dreams, the former Schalke support in his first game on that FlyQuest roster, alongside Tomo. Tomo has been that major carry for the FlyQuest team. NXI and Tomo have been indeed the only consistent spots of brilliance on FlyQuest. So we've got a little bit of a battle shaping up between those two lanes we were focusing on so much. Keel versus NXI in the jungle, Wild Turtle and Hooks versus Tomo and Dreams.
Yeah, and this is where I can go back to what FlyQuest's whole team narrative being in this confused state really is, because you go back to how Tomo sort of entered the Academy scene being a substitute for King in Cloud9 Academy when he was having visa issues last year. Tomo comes in out of a collegiate roster, says, hey, I'll be here to just sort of be that plug. And from that team, he understands how to play a weak side lane. He knows his role in the Cloud9 roster. Also increases his champion pool as well, being able to pilot not only Cassiopeias and Syndras in the bottom lane, but also the Aphelioses and the Zayas that were really strong in that current state. So that's something that FlyQuest really hasn't tapped into yet. And that's something where we can then use that tool to divert back to another condition that hasn't been addressed either, which is Kumo in the top lane, who really needs that attention to get the ball rolling early.
Yeah, it is worth noting, Kumo, of course, is a veteran of the Academy, which isn't a great thing to say, but he has been putting together some wins. If there is an error in Kumo's playstyle, it is that he hasn't been aggressive enough previously. He's been the kind of, I'm going to sit here on the top lane and do solid and be fine in lane. And if you have other carries, that is powerful, but I don't think he's had that. He was on EG Academy last split, and it felt like they were missing some firepower on that top side.
Yeah, I won't put any of the other blame aside when Evil Geniuses was having just a few meshes into their support staff during that time as well, and Kumo did sort of suffer at the hands of that. But coming back into FlyQuest Academy, it's almost the same situation where he is now back into a team that he needs to not only assist the rest of his team sort of understanding themselves and to sort of build themselves as an identity, but also helps the support staff as well. But thankfully for them, with that previous experience, I think it's going to be just a short-term fix that they are going to be able to adjust on the fly. And going into this game, I'll be looking at him crucially, because not only will he need to start snowballing well, but I think he needs to play a little bit of a leadership role to help get NXI out of his rut, which he's been struggling in the jungle.
Yeah, NXI was the successor to Kenvi. I think that's why I'm so excited. I'm in NXI's corner. Also, he's a big softie. I guarantee you will like him if you watch an interview with him. But we got to see Kenvi like tear up the amateur scene on 100 Thieves Next for so long. And right as he graduated from the 100 Next program, we're like, we'll never see anyone like him again.
Yeah.
After next, pull out NXI from solo queue, and he blows up, demolishing amateur games, and gets promoted very quickly after like half a split in amateur,
Yep.
all the way into the LCS substitution role he has been playing over the last couple of games at the start of the lock-in tournament. And between the two of us, I fear that may have been a little bit too much of a jump in difficulty.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to touch back onto what we discussed in our podcast earlier in the day of just NXI having those growing pains and something where he hasn't had the proper mentorship or even the appropriate sort of tempo and speed to progress as a player. So being forced into that very mature role as it is at such a young age and in such a hasty manner does give him not only a little bit of confidence, a lack of confidence as it is, but also a sense of loss. And that's where FlyQuest Academy might just be the home that he needs to really find himself once again.
NXI deserves more time in the pond. I think NXI, if he showed anything at amateur, it's that he could be one of our next generational talents. So I'm looking forward to what develops. But FlyQuest need to start putting together wins here. They won over EG, lost to Dignitas. CLG beat C9, lost to 100 Thieves. Now, we'll go head-to-head. 1-1 records across the board as we head into the draft, and Kiel will not be playing Talia.
I think that's a good thing if you want to continue with the Talia curse, but it's something that also with the Udyr bans starts to show a little shift in where these two teams are looking at as a win condition. We have 3 jungle bans out right now and then a top lane ban on that side of the map. I also respect the Seraphine ban because we just mentioned Tomo can play those mages, so they could do that double enchanter bot lane, but as these drafts come out fairly quick.
Real fast.
This is speed running. Like, slow down. I do not know how to clip through these walls that quickly for the draft. As Aphelios blind with the counter from Thresh, this is going to be leaving a pretty big hole for FlyQuest Academy, as CLG has already gotten that better bottom half of the map.
So to be clear, Aphelios, Nidalee, Gnar for FlyQuest. CLG grabs Thresh, Renekton, Jhin. That bot lane, I think, is important. CLG have both Jhin and Thresh locked in real fast. Hooks' Thresh is very good, while Turtle can play a solid Jhin. We know that. So the gauntlet has kind of been thrown down there. CLG intend to play through that bottom lane.
And it just is a little bit of a hassle for FlyQuest Academy because they really prioritized the Aphelios pick so much that Kai'Sa was still on the board, but they didn't want to give CLG Academy that instant win of Aphelios Thresh as a combination. So having to steal that away sort of creates this odd reactive play on a blue side draft as well. Like, having to counterpick with Gnar immediately, and then at least NXI is able to get his pick of the litter with Nidalee, and then with these quick second phase picks coming out, we do see a recon, first recon of today, if my memory does not betray me, as it's something that is starting to slowly come up through the rankings as a new engaging support.
Just to reiterate, that isn't a missed ban for CLG, that is their penalty for the substitution of Wild Turtle. So.
Yes.
FlyQuest, I think, overall, have a pretty solid draft across the board. It is likewise going to focus around the late-game team fighting that Aphelios can provide. CLG focus around the mid-game team fighting, and late-game from Victor, Hecarim, and Jhin.
And when you look at these drafts and sort of touch back on what our notes were, TJ, on how we need to find a more revitalized FlyQuest to where they sort of adjust their conditions, it still plays into that investment of making sure that they can get Tomo and NXI online, while their 2 powerhouse solo laners are still sort of left to their own devices. Like, Triple will be just sort of contesting against RJS's Victor. They're not going to have too much of a hassle there unless something really gets thrown off the wire. And to that point, I'd be looking at Keel's Hecarim hitting level 6, then causing some kind of chaos once they start to look for those neutral objectives. However, it's as good as the draft looks for FlyQuest, I can't just give them a strong argument in the early to mid-game phases because of how well CLG Academy's performance has been in recency bias.
Yeah, I think the focus absolutely should be here in the jungle and XIV Kiel. We talked about that matchup.
Yep.
and it is going to be all important. NXI on an assassin is never anything to sneer at. Keel could be jungle dominant on Hecarim. Also, yeah, drag your attention down towards the carries of the two respective teams, Tomo and Aphelios, and RJS on Victor, both players to watch. It's time, Coco. We survived the late night show. It's time for FlyQuest versus CLG, our last game of Week 2, Day 1 here in LCS Academy. We're finally breaking it out onto the Rift.
I had a little unsettling thought coming up as we loaded onto the Rift, TJ, because I am a little worried if NXI will be building towards the Moonstone path for Nidalee, because it is something that is popular, but it is not something that complements either NXI's playstyle or something that really helps out FlyQuest in this game specifically. They need someone to help create picks early and make sure that they have that tempo to at least convert into mid-game efficiently. What that Moonstone path would do is disrupt that potential condition for them to at least keep in track to shut down Keel and leave everyone else in the dust.
Oh. I don't think anything's going to come from that. In fact, Dreams does, I think, lose that trade, but...
I think that's an even trade. Both ignites. Heal, though, for Wild Turtle, so if they try and go back in again later down the line, he'll have that defensive summoner spell to help keep Hooks healthier. And it does divert some attention back down here from both NXI and Keel. However, I don't think it's going to be too much for quite a while until we start to see for that Scuttle contestation in just a few minutes.
Gotta love Dreams just being like, I'll do it. Let's go. Yeah. Dreams did burn both pots here, so I think that is worth mentioning.
He doesn't have biscuits either, it looks like. So
Hooks has biscuits, so there is a slight, if we want to get really into it.
Yeah.
Technically, there's a slight advantage towards Hooks.
Yeah. Should have baked himself a bagel or something just to help keep
that
up
bagel
the
I
energy.
had after C900 Thieves. That bagel was so good.
You finish a great game with a great bagel. Like, it's just a win-win.
That's what I would recommend. You finish a great game, you finish a great bagel, hand in hand every time. That's what I always say.
Just great game, great bagel. Just put it on a t-shirt, start selling it, make some merchandising.
Just giving riot ideas.
Yeah.
I want a Braum skit where he's wearing a t-shirt that says great game, great bagel. FlyQuest, do you start this game relatively chill? You were worried that NXI might not be going for an assassin route, so that's something to keep our eye on. Of course, NXI's jungling on Nidalee is one of the few things that can keep pace with a Hecarim. So they are blessed in that small way.
And we could use this time to just reiterate the chaotic nature that Keel has shown in the first week of Academy, where he pretty much gives a very small amount of time for either him to succeed and pop off, which, as I see on the minimap here, he did just peek into this bottom side of the map, seeing if he can find NXI around. And this is what we were talking about in a sense of making sure he can get ahead of the game early and really find those advantages and play on his style, because once those 10 minutes are up, it starts to become an unknown factor for CLG on how efficient he will be going into skirmishes and fights.
Keel sticks his head to the bot line, shouts, "Great game, great bagel!" Backs off.
Now he knows that NXI is on bottom. Like, he did drop that ward there, so he can keep track of that, and that might just help them control tempo on the bottom side of the map here. Because Wild Turtle and Hooks having that information can say, okay, we know NXI is going to be on the top half, Dragon's going to be up in 40 seconds. If we want to try and rush for that Dragon, we have the tools and information to do so. We'll have to keep a track on if they act upon it, as RJS just makes sure that Triple doesn't get in a cheeky recall.
Almost loses his life for it. RJS is, of course, formerly known as Deus, the top laner. Swapping back to the role he played prior to 2019, which was mid. So, returning home, and RJS has had some good carry performances in the last game they played. He was instrumental to the victory over C9.
Yeah, he went, like, I believe 8-0 or 8-2 on Syndra, and we're going to hold that pause as Hooks flashes in.
Here comes Keel. Doesn't need the lantern. Full dive onto Tomo. No HP, and the FlyQuest AD carry is the first blood as CLG are up 1-0.
And that was the play we were looking for, having that information of summoners being down, no heal in the pockets of Tomo to help keep Dreams alive, or even himself, as a matter of fact, is the immediate investment of knowing NXI is on the top. No one is there to answer. Great play from CLG.
With Tomo down early, all of a sudden CLG have a great little win condition across this map.
Yep.
Heal is just lurking there outside of ward vision. That's really good.
Yeah. It's a flash, immediate pop of Ghost, and his charge to just get into the backline as fast as possible. All the tools were used on Tomo. They could have chose for either target, but because of the engagement that Hooks was able to find onto Tomo's Aphelios, that just immediately switches all the heads to him, picking up the first blood. So now Keel, having that upper hand, can continue to invest in this bottom lane, and that is the best way to go about this game. Really make sure Wild Turtle and Hooks, the two renowned players and the biggest names on this roster for tonight, get ahead, get going, and then just take over the rest of the map.
They are underneath turret down there on the bot side. Keel is very, very low.
Interesting.
Brandini up top will be burned down by Kumo. So Keel just ran into the bush in the bot lane, dove behind the turret and almost died. Did survive. We'll see if NXI is able to get something here as RJS is cowering in the mid lane.
At least NXI is still playing around
Spear.
his solo laners right now. Like, he's got the priority from Triple, who can always just shuffle over the wall and help him out if needed. But I do see Hooks on the bottom side here, seeing if he can relieve some stress from RGS's mid lane.
Yeah, roaming up here, joined by Keel. That would get dangerous. The Triple is on the ball, hopping away as quick as they can.
Yeah. The attempt for this is to get some mid-priority back into the favor of CLG Academy, and then allow RJS to recall, grab some additional items, heal up here, and then possibly get some vision control as well into the bottom river for Keel to continue to rinse and repeat the pressure for Wild Turtle and Hooks, and maybe pick up a dragon if they are lucky and in the area, as NXI currently just clearing that out. And one place we haven't been touching too much has been sort of how Triple has been really oppressing RJS on this matchup. This is like the first lane that RJS really hasn't been coming out on top so far.
Kumo behind turret. Will be kind of zoned a bit by Brandini, but comes out angry. I think that is worth noting that you were talking about in that mid lane, because RJS is, as you mentioned, just getting dominated. Kumo in with ulti, will land a stun. Full combo, ult burned. Brandini for the turn, spends his own ultimate, lands the stun onto
here.
Kumo, who will drift back behind the turret. No harm, no foul. Everyone's happy.
It is a little interesting because you could see Keel looking to sneak this Herald here, and I'm intrigued on the Herald decision. Yeah, I'm intrigued on the Herald decision here because it's something where, yes, you can contest for this lane priority fairly effectively, but where will you be placing that Herald, right? You're going to be looking at that bottom side of Wild Turtle of Hooks. So grabbing this early, then investing heavily into the bottom side in the next few minutes will be beneficial, but NXI is hungry for a steal here.
700? Oh!
Who gets it?
NXI does not get it, I think. They do find the turn,
Yeah.
but the Rift Herald successfully over to Keel. That will be all CLG get, as they lose both Brandini and Keel. But they get the Rift Herald.
Yeah, they get the Rift Herald, which is nice, but this is where I challenge that question once again. Like, I was dissecting an argument for myself with this Herald challenge for Keel, saying, okay, well, you can get the Herald early, so you can hard invest into the bottom side, clear, look for a dive, see if you can take some turret plates off of Tomo and Dreams and put some money into the pockets of Wild Turtle while you go ahead and take Dragon easily with the priority that Herald gives you. But you do it in such an odd manner where it is an obvious approach to this Herald, and NXI is able to smell it out, and the rest of FlyQuest is in position to trap it.
NXI so nearly gets the Herald as well. He was 93 HP off on the smite. That is wild.
It's unfortunate, but coming out with 2 kills on that and then being able to use that to convert into tempo play. Look at how they're starting to use their vision now. They're trying to see if they can keep track of Keel once again. I do see that little elbow brush right next to Red Buff on the top side that NXI has just sort of daintily put a control ward there, so he can understand when he'll be around. And this might actually be a great time for NXI to say, hey, let's relieve some pressure off of Tomo and Dreams to see if we can look for a possible kill or dragon.
Right as you call out, NXI sees Keel on the map with that pink ward. And it prompts NXI to hang out down here over on the bottom side. CLG with good communication. Perhaps noticed that Keel's been spotted, and so they back away. FlyQuest are okay with that, because it means free Drake.
And this is what the CLG Academy should have been doing with the priority that they had won with Wild Turtle and Hooks, is looking to get invading vision into the jungle of NXI, get an elbow brush next to his red buff instead, make sure he's there, but hold on, RJS is in some trouble.
Yeah, no HP, trying to kite back here, and Triple will find the kill. FlyQuest grow the lead yet again.
I don't think you're going to be able to get the kill here.
Yeah, I don't think so either. He luckily agrees with us. We'll sit back behind the turret. Not even attempting for a trade.
And I'm looking at the timer. It's just past 10 minutes. It's 11 minutes, 30 seconds on the clock right now. And we were talking about how Keel gives CLG Academy this 10-minute timer of you know what you're going to get out of him within that first stage. But then after that, it's a completed enigma. And they are having the bad side of the coin for this end, where they have now dropped to a 3-kills-to-1 deficit. And it looks like RJS just didn't respect NXI was in the area after he had just taken Dragon.
What a good engage from Triple done.
For sure.
Very, very well played.
Like, it was very much a disrespect from RJS knowing NXI was in the vicinity. But it is 100% Triple being able to find that catch and saying, look, we can get this kill. Just follow me, NXI. We've got it. And playing into those solo lanes.
To be fair, NXI landed like an auto attack.
True. It was very much Triple.
Disrespect either way, because RJS shouldn't have been walking up like that.
Yep.
Oh, shouldn't be doing it again. Will escape this time, thanks to Hooks. Good playing from the CLG support. As RJS ego checks. And turns out the same thing happens. Twice.
Oh, whoa!
Okay! A free kill to NXI. RJS down. Hooks will land from the Hooks. They'll see what they can do. Underneath the turret.
Okay.
The kill gets passed back over. I don't know what to make of that, Coco, but 1 for 1.
Triple sort of stepping a little bit too far forward to sort of be in tandem with the kill that NXI had found on RGS, but RGS, apparently the R does not stand for respect because he is just stepping way too forward. And I will give him the benefit of the doubt. The FlyQuest is doing an immaculate job with vision control on this bottom side of the map currently. They had some vision to make sure that it is always a curiosity if NXI is within the vicinity or not. The first one, I slap the wrist for RGS and say, you know NXI had just taken Dragon, shame on you for stepping up. But that time around, it's sort of almost the same thing of saying, hey, they had just ganked you, why are you going up again and sticking around?
The R stands for remake.
Remake, yeah.
That's what I got.
Or recall.
My God.
That's a quick recall if you think about it.
Sorry, RJS, we're tired. Don't need to blame you. Triple does get outplayed there by Thrash, so shout out to Hooks, formerly Auto, showing off those good Thrash mechanics.
And this turns a lot of the narrative that we were talking about on our heads, right? Where RJS and Brandini have been immaculate solo laners on their own rights. Keo was a little bit of a question mark, and now with Wild Turtle and Hooks, who are the big superstars for tonight, the action has just been absolutely flipped, and it is now shifted to where even though the draft was giving me concerns for FlyQuest not playing towards their stronger players of Kumo and Triple, Triple has just sort of stamped his feet down and declared that you need to pay attention to me and you need to respect this Azir pickup because I will take this game over by storm.
Can I maybe credit a little bit of that over to NXI, because
for sure
it's very easy to be an Azir winning lane when you have constant ganks by a Fed Nidalee.
Oh, of course. And I think that even sort of bleeds out to the other lanes as well. Like Kumo is so far up in his lane, not only because of it being a Gnar Renekton counter pickup and him having that confidence, but because of the Herald fight that CLG had lost in. NXI just gets ramped up snowballing. Also, he went Night Harvester, by the way. Thank goodness he did not go Moonstone on this one. So now he continues to have that pressure, like you mentioned, of always having a Nidalee in your back pocket to go for those duels.
Don't even know what a Moonstone is. My name's NXI, and I'm here to get kills. I was just a little bit of roleplay. I was experimenting with it.
Well, he's getting Herald too, so he's taking a Herald W as well. So that will help crack open the map even more, because I think the best thing you can do now is to get Tomo and Dreams, the one part of your roster that is still struggling right now in this game. Get them out of this 2v2 and breaking open this top turret. Yeah, breaking open this top turret. You you cannot disrespect NXI always being in the back pocket of his solo laners. So this is where I'm not sure if he's going to drop the Herald here right now. If they want to go for double turrets here,
they absolutely can.
They
have to know that Keel is on this Drake at this point.
Exactly, and that's where they can either say, okay, the dragon has just been taken down. We can go ahead, open up the map a little bit more, and then get Tomo and Dreams out of this lane and force Kumo into a different position to where he can start pressuring other designations of what CLG is getting thrown at, because he can handle Brandini just fine. I think he can also start to make it where Wild Turtle has a hassle against Kumo's Gnar, and it forces Hooks to address that situation while Tomo and Dreams reconnect into the mid lane and sort of make this game about FlyQuest more than anything else.
Yeah, I think it already is. I think this is FlyQuest's game to lose as it currently stands, which isn't to say that CLG are out of it. It is, however, to say that their win conditions are now their sub, Wild Turtle, which is certainly not a bad place to be. Wild Turtle should be able to pull out an Academy game.
Exactly.
But he has to now.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about, of making it all about FlyQuest, right? Is you make it to where that one condition of Wild Turtle being the substitute and being that power player is no longer a factor, and dividing these lane designations going into the mid-game part is the best way to do it, because then it forces this awkward designation of farming capability, freezing lanes, controlling the side wave management for the next objective to come up, and FlyQuest can just immediately curl up as a battering ram and break open this mid lane of CLG.
Poor Red Tarot. Thought it was going to get some charging in, and the turret just fell. As NXI shoves in the mid lane, that will be a charge successfully gotten off, and 2 turrets passed over. This, it has to be said, is the best performance I've seen from NXI since he got promoted from amateur.
This is what we wanted to see. Confidence back into the ranks of FlyQuest. And with NXI sort of spearheading this game, no pun intended with Nidalee, to take over this game. Look at Keel. 10 minutes are up, man. It's 18 minutes in. You have almost fallen to the wayside in this match.
Trying to get real frisky with Dreams, who is perfectly able to step right back into that. CC it up, call his friends on the phone. And FlyQuest are more than capable of receiving the pressure now. I'm not sure what CLG can do, and that's what you were talking about. It is no longer about CLG. It is maybe FlyQuest make a mistake.
Yeah, and that is not a position you want to be in any game whatsoever, where you have to rely on mistakes and flaws. Like this, where Triple is a little bit out on his own, but is able to get away just fine. But in forcing yourself onto those mistakes of saying, this is not where you should be, get out of my jungle, and then being able to readdress to this mid lane where currently FlyQuest is in a little bit of a reset moment. They didn't have their timings on lock just yet, and Kumo is off the map for a while for Brandini to try and win some CS back into his favor, who is doing a really tough time 20 CS down on this Renekton.
We did see that red buff get successfully stolen away by Keel. Just throwing that
Is
out
it
there.
is it stolen, or is it secured? Because it was technically on his side of the map.
Well, I don't think it's about where on the map it is. I think it's about whose it is. And it was definitely... Like, if I eat lunch at your table out of my lunchbox, it's still my lunch. You know?
But the red buff isn't the table, it is the burger. Now, what if it was my lunch in your lunchbox? Now that's just
Full
gets curious.
CC
But hello,
in, big trouble for Triple. He'll get away, but the dive follows through. Onslaught of Shadows from Keel will secure the kill, but they may be able to trade. Hook's very low. Over the wall, I do not believe it. He's safe till NXI comes through. We'll find the kill. Watch RJS here, though, on the flank. We'll pop the ulti and just step into a real mess. Keel tries to back him up. Will get RJS out, but now Keel's in the front lines. Tomo survives the curtain call. I do not know how, but CLG don't lose anyone more.
and with a 1-for-1 trade, FlyQuest immediately forces CLG to pay attention to them once more. Close call there, with Wild Turtle almost getting the deadly flourish, but with all of that fighting, with a 1-for-1 trade, you have to then go into a question of what was that fight for? And it was for that mid-priority to prepare for the coming dragon and to get some vision onto Baron. And this was a great catch from Hooks. However, just of how far ahead both Triple and NXI are to just immediately burst down the members of CLG to force them away from the contested mid lane priority and swing that tempo back in their favor. RGS did find a good flank here, but the fact that no kills were found on either side of FlyQuest or CLG keeps that tempo in FlyQuest's side of the court.
I cannot believe RJS got away with that. RJS just walked into that fight.
Yeah, I was
dared them to fight him.
That was pretty illegal from RJS. He should have not been there.
FlyQuest will find their second Drake of the game, third overall, putting them on the Mountain Rift with the Mountain Drake in the bank.
And everyone's getting to that mythic item checkpoint now. The only one that is a little slow on that is Dreams, as he is much more focused on being a mobile support than it is to be a full-on tank or enchanter as it is, and that is just how Rakan interacts with this team, and that's, I think, what's helping them sort of stick in this game a little bit longer, is that he can complement each individual point of FlyQuest than just being a Aphelios connection like Thresh is notorious for in that combination.
Is this Imperial Mandate on Dreams?
I could see it. I could argue both Moonstone just because of how strong Moonstone is, and because Moonstone plus Staff of Flowing Water gives an additional AP over to NXI and Triple. It'll just empower those assassins even more.
Not if Dreams is dead, though.
True.
The real facts with TJ. Wild Turtle and Hooks find a sync combo.
Okay. But it is Shirelius.
And it is Shirelius.
Okay. Yeah, that's the more obvious, I guess, like, the more obvious traditional Rakan choice.
I always forget
doesn't...
about Shirelius, even though I've been building it on Bard recently, just because there are two champions in the game that build it.
It's something where the support items are so mix and match, and Shirelia falls to the wayside just because of how statistically stronger Moonstone and Imperial Mandate are. This is just a great catch. He's walking by himself. Yeah, being just a little bit disrespectful on that end. Like, he didn't have anyone else with it. He didn't have either NXI or Tomo as his buddy to help walk into the jungle of CLG and just sort of granting over a kill to help keep Wild Turtle in this game.
Don't call him Hooks because he misses. Tomo will be shoving in the mid lane here. Trying to get FlyQuest the control of this game back that I think they just lost with that staggered kill, but they do still have a pretty dominant gold lead, and indeed haven't lost much of the map control, despite their support going down randomly.
Minor blip in the system, as Kumo takes over that bottom side of the map, and again,
it's like
forcing the 1-3-1 situation. This is where I think this is a great call from Keel.
Won't find anything.
I respect the call because he knows he needs to get out of this 1-3-1 division that CLG has been sort of imprisoned in by FlyQuest.
Was that Tomo using the Mythic Dash to get past the Onslaught of Shadows?
Yes.
That's sick.
Pretty cool. It's just like Galio with Protobell when he was able to... I think it was Demonte that did it, where he just Protobell past the Cassiopeia ulti and then just wombo combos. It's just the extra mobility on some carries now is just absolutely ridiculous.
I think even if you nerf the stats or the time or whatever, just having an extra dash is so valuable for somebody like Aphelios. And we'll still see Gustblade.
Yeah, and he can't go Kraken Slayer because he needs that extra utility, right? Because he doesn't have Hooks' Thresh to get him out of tight spots with a Lantern or to help set up additional kills with Box or Flay. So he needs that mobility where Dreams is building more for the independent team, right? Of making sure that NXI and Triple can get to that backline. Same with Kumo, so they can create these scrappy fights that their composition thrives in. To continue having this dominant performance that they've been having tonight.
Really, really good showing from Tomo. Staying alive through the pressure, knowing how to play their own role, whilst NXI has been the absolute carry for FlyQuest. I don't know why my voice shook so much there on NXI.
It's a dominating name. Yeah, NXI on Assassin, like you said at the beginning of this game, it's intimidating.
I'm intimidated? That's your theory?
Maybe, but we'll have to see how well he's going to be able to approach this dragon, which will be coming up. It is going to be Soul Point, and if they're able to get some good vision control, which they already have set up with the scrying orbs and some control word placements on that little elbow brush next to blue buff, they have a good path of finding gank potential from not only Kumo and Dreams to help not only take the objective, but then to clamp down and pincer any CLG members that try and overstep.
Kiel was one of those members. Kumo will slap him down. Go in, spend the ulti, force an ulti.
Great.
Hooks will Onslaught of Shadows away.
That's the engagement gone from CLG. This is as good as gone
Kumo.
for FlyQuest. That's ambitious, but dang, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah, Brandini real scared up there. Turret will fall to the top side. RJS soloing one out. Drake will go over to FlyQuest.
It was just a great catch. Once again, the vision that Kumo and Dreams had set up forces Keel away using that Onslaught of Shadows. And this is what we need to rinse and repeat on. This is a team composition that, even though they are built for a team fight on the bottom half, where it's Azir, Felios, and Rakan, they're built to make a beautiful congested fight where they all can just start dishing out damage on multiple targets at once, where NXI and Kumo can find those flanks and take out the backline fairly effectively. And even though it sounds appetizing, they still don't need to actually execute that team fight unless they get caught out in weird positions.
Oh, down Sanit's route will come through. Big trouble for Dreams. The support for FlyQuest is caught out again.
And the thing is though, I don't know how much is going to come out of it, but the catch onto Kumo might actually come with a reward for CLG.
Flash. No death. Kumo stays ahead of the third and fourth shot.
Because this is the weird part of FlyQuest composition, is that CLG has a great pick comp just off of Wild Turtle and Hooks on their own. And even if they're able to find Dreams, who is the squishiest target as of right now for FlyQuest Academy, there are still so many wave clear options and stalling tools on FlyQuest Academy's composition to continue playing the game that they want. Sure, the shutdown makes it to where they can't be proactive on the map, but it isn't an absolute loss unless someone else falls with Dreams.
Yeah. That is the unless.
Yes.
We will slow things down again. Of course, FlyQuest don't have a team fight win right now, so they're going to be chilling out. But I think they eventually do from the FLYA. So let's take another look at how Dreams went down.
Just getting caught once again. He at least had a buddy this time, but it was still something where CLG was already prepared. Yeah.
I think you can make the argument that NXI might have been caught, and he was body blocking for that.
Yeah.
But I think NXI was out of range. I don't know. I need another look.
However, it goes to this point where you look at the compositions. FlyQuest does not have a great sieging comp. They have, again, that good scrappy team fight of having a congested team fight for Triple and Tomo, and then being able to get to the backline with NXI and Kumo. And it's something where they can't push in towards the turrets. They can get to the turrets, they can get objectives like here where they're getting this jungle priority, but they can't go out into the defenses of CLG Academy. So they need to drag CLG out of their defenses and into the wild here. And thankfully, challenging Baron, which they can do right now, is a great way to do this.
FlyQuest do exactly that. CLG are starting to figure out what's going on. Hooks over the wall. We'll get vision. They don't get anything out of it.
Because unfortunately, Keel is still a powerful Hecarim, 3-1 right now on the champion, and already has some beefy stats on top of the Divine Sunderer and Sterix Gauge. So for that in itself, you cannot be in the Baron pit and just sort of allow Keel the free choice of just going in with Onslaught of Shadows and at least hitting two members in that pit to win the fight over for CLG, because then you're in that point of the terrain being that 6th man to deny any of that backdoor or flanking potential that NXI and Kumo need to find.
We really are having a great little jungle duel here today, though, and
True.
I think we should highlight that because Keel did have a somewhat rocky road to get here, and he is looking really good in this series. You also have NXI, somebody we've been waiting to show up for a while, a player who was terrifying in amateur and has kind of looked weak in LCS and LCS Academy thus far. And it's good to see them both on their feet here, both carrying 3 kills forward in this game.
It's just that Keel has still not gotten a chance to really feel any tempo. Like every time CLG has been finding an advantage, it's been through hooks and him finding those picks with the rest of the team sort of collapsing forward. So even with this jungle matchup being very close statistically, it is just like, it is something that it is almost deceptive for Keel.
Cole! It's been 30 minutes!
I know. We're scaling, don't worry about it.
Okay.
Oh,
We'll
catch
land Kumo's fine.
I thought you were mad at me for a minute, but you were just upset at the timer. I understand, but I think FlyQuest and CLG are just getting impatient as well.
Yeah, there we go. Flash in from Drinks,
There we go,
doesn't find the engage. We'll get away.
Dragons
Little
up.
Fresky. Somebody on the 2 teams shouted it's been 30 minutes as well. Here's FlyQuest going for the soul.
Go.
This would be a win condition,
Oh.
so they need to fight. Huge Gnar ulti. Drake will go to NXI and FlyQuest. Onslaught of Shadows from Keel into the back of the fight. Finds damage. Dreams will fall. Kumo very low. They get the backlines as well. Soul will go to FlyQuest, but CLG almost ace. That is Kumo barely alive. NXI will go down. Kumo does escape. Do they have the time to end?
And the 6th man of the terrain of the jungle gives so much breathing space for CLG Academy. RJS and Wild Turtle were absolutely fine throughout the thick and thin of it. And I was discussing earlier about how FlyQuest's team composition is supposed to fight, where you have 3 members to create a congested situation while NXI and Kumo look for the flanks. We saw Kumo go in, get a nice Mega Gnar ultimate, but then all of the members of FlyQuest look for that congested play and just run straight into Keel's Onslaught of Shadows, disrupting the fight and creating the chaos that is needed for RJS and Wild Turtle to thrive.
I think CLG could have been more ambitious than the Baron here.
Yes.
But they instead turn for the Baron. They don't try and take any turrets.
Also, a huge shout out for Brandine on this flank here, because this is where like you see all of the attention get drawn towards the Mega Gnar ultimate, and Brandini has already found that correct flank and gets straight onto Tomo and onto Triple. This is where he's able to drive him out. He finds NXI. Triple was able to get away from the big bad Croc, but he could not get away from Wild Turtle.
So, Baron in hand for CLG. Mountain Soul in pocket for FlyQuest.
And we are not out of the woods yet. This game could break open at any moment, but it is still in the hands of CLG to really force the initiative, right?
Give me a time code. How long do you think we're going here? Over under 40 minutes.
If we're looking at how this current situation is with the lane designations, with how Kumo has the current top wave management, and how the Baron buff is not really being applied, this might be a 45-minute game. However, it is up to CLG to find another great pinch like that, where it baits FlyQuest into a sense of false confidence to where Brandini and Keel can get the maximum output of their team fighting bruisers, that is Renekton and Hecarim.
Yeah, CLG executed a really good team fight there, but they also got it because FlyQuest were split, because FlyQuest wanted to burn the soul.
There's now starting to use the Baron buff too, so this is where breaking open this turret, they've got Wild Turtle and RGS who are doing a brutish amount of damage to these structures, can start to tear at it away, but Kumo's still on the top side.
Yeah, Baron empowered recall will be there to match him. That's RJS as Kumo gets an inhibitor turret. will not try for anything more.
And that sort of evens out to a sense of neutrality, because you trade an inhibitor turret for an inhibitor turret on opposite sides of the map. The mid lane turret that Brandini was trying to contest for didn't really take that much damage, and they might be able to find this flank onto Kumo, and as long as they're able to get that kill, at least it's some more gold into the coffers for them to get to their next item.
Stun! Ulti!
Oh, gosh.
No thank you, says Kumo.
Ah! Kumo is one sly dog.
I think it's like a space monster. I don't know.
He's like technically a Yordle. He's like the missing link, if I recall correctly.
What?
Yeah, like Nara's like the missing link. He was like
He's
found.
a Yordle Neanderthal?
Yeah, he was found in dark ice in the Ice Age. It melted, and now he's just like. Yeah, this is some Ice Age 3 stuff going on with Nar's lore. So,
You know what's disturbing about League of Legends? I need you to just sit down and explain it to me.
Don't get me started on Viego. We'll get to that train when it arrives in the station, but so far,
back when he's in front flying.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get back into this game though with FlyQuest and CLG. This is again forcing that whole initiative of getting FlyQuest into this false sense of security, making sure that looking at how they have set up this trap, like that's what Wild Turd is trying to bait for. Like, he's got the flanks covered. He knows that he can keep a good leash on NXI to make sure that he's not going to be able to jump onto that back line. And also with the Guardian's Angel, it's that extra safety on top of that, where just that snippet of experience and how well he's been performing on this Jhin gives a nice limelight to Brandini, Keel, and RJS, who are also really trying to wrestle themselves back into this game.
Did you say over or under 40 minutes?
I said 45 minutes.
Okay, over. I'm gonna actually challenge you, because we do maybe have a game end coming up here with the Elder Drake and Baron. If there is a decisive fight here, it does end the video game.
True. And
on the other hand, if there isn't, then you're absolutely right.
Yeah, if the game does not end with CLG Elder Dragon buff, it is going to be a 45-minute game. So either or, I'm down for each one. And it is up to how...
60 minutes, FlyQuest. We're going deep.
You're going to get to the point where you start introducing turret degradation. Because that's what happens when 60 minutes comes into play.
Here is Kumo and FlyQuest shoving in mid.
Watch her. RJS is on the flank here. This is the flank we were looking for.
As well with Brandini. RJS from the top side. CLG regroup. No harm, no foul, no damage done. 12 seconds on Elder.
Key ultimates down right now is the Quickening from Dreams of Kron and the Dominus from Brandini. So those are not going to be available for this Elder fight, but you still have Shadow of Onslaught online. You have the Shurima Shuffle as well. This is an awkward space because it's all FlyQuest here, and they can tear apart this Elder Dragon super quickly with the guns that Tomo has.
It's the same thing. This is the same thing as the last Drake fight. Kumo and triple zoning.
Kumo's not
Elder in the
Mega
backlines, half HP. Hooks very low. Elder will reset. Damage out from the backlines of FlyQuest. Moonlit Vigil won't do that much, but Keel is half HP. Elder will be being chunked again down to 5k. There is vision from CLG. Keel over the wall. Curtain call will be thrown in. Mostly for vision, I think.
Yep.
3k. Resetting to 4,000. Final fourth shot is held, doesn't get fired. 3,000 HP on the Elder again.
Here we go.
Hooks in, finds a huge
Dragon reset.
hook. That is the start, but the backline
triple.
RJS, the recon! The deep dive, Kumo
Triple.
to fight with his absolutely massive Gnar ulti, and Kumo still going. Hooks is down as well. That is all Kumo, all the way, as CLG are shattered right outside the Elder Dragon pits.
And Wild Turtle is doing his best to try and stall the game out a little bit longer. They have the side waves pushing for them, as well as this mid one, but Baron is up. This is an Elder Dragon and Baron buff for FlyQuest Academy if they look to chase it, but the respawn timers are still ticking down for CLG Academy. But we're going to have to look at that team fight once more, because Triple, NXI, and Kumo were able to stall this fight out for so long that Kumo in the middle of this fight was exhausted. He could not get Meganar for 12 seconds. They delayed it until he started stacking up again. And once you hear that Kumo call, say, we can go in, I'll have Meganar ready for this fight, the hook comes in, and that just forces the rest of FlyQuest to engage upon the members of CLG. And the harassment that NXI and Tomo were dishing out with the Felios in Italy helped shred the team down to the point of absolute no return. And Kumo's wonderful Meganar ultimate is just the topping of this cake for FlyQuest to take the Elder Dragon and then create this massive swing in tempo back into their side.
For Baron, turn FlyQuest, they'll get them both. Double buffed, extra buff, swole. You live with Kangas, so you're used to swole esports. He'll be on tomorrow if you want to see some rippling muscles on the Academy stream. In the meantime, FlyQuest are bearing both buffs. I don't know what they're going to be able to do with it, because they are running a little low already on Elder Dragon time.
And that's the problem, right? Because it's something where Elder Dragon does not give you much time. It is supposed to be a game-ending buff, and when you are able to turn a fight back into your favor, where you are currently on the back foot as FlyQuest, winning that trade, then being able to convert it to Baron buff, when you looked at the state of the Rift at that time, where everything was pushing for CLG, you're on recovery duty at that point, and you have to use all that free time.
What are we doing here, FlyQuest?
They're still trying to recover sidewave management, and it's something where I understand them trying to group up and stay together, because if Hooks finds another Hail Mary hook onto either Dreams or onto Tomo, this game's as good as done. But they need to make sure that they stick together, get that vision on lock, hold each other's hands as they go through this darkness that CLG has sort of placed out in their jungle, and then push accordingly. They can leave Como in the mid lane to help challenge Brandini and force them there, while Triple and Tomo tear apart these structures.
There's the hook. NXI rooted. No engage. Elder's still active.
If they're not able to break the defenses, we're going to be in for another long bout here between FlyQuest and CLG. They're able to hold on to this wave so far. Turret has not fallen yet, but the empowered cannon minion is going to be wrangled in to be taken out. Oh, that damage.
Inhibitor down. The Elder buff has just worn off, if I'm not mistaken. So there is the opportunity now to start engaging. Inhibitors will be gone. One there in the bot lane. We'll see if this mid goes down as well. There are a couple more seconds on the Baron.
We've got about
Kumo's
40 seconds left.
Spent Meganar. So they can't rightly fight. However, both inhibitors will go down. FlyQuest get everything they need. Now they just need to close it with a team fight.
I think they're trying to make it proper here, TJ. They're looking for that third inhibitor. They're saying if we can't break their defenses now on the Nexus, we might as well go for it. But here we go.
Keel with a deep dive, trying to save, and he can't make the fight happen. Two kills passed over to Tomo on the defense as the Gravitum opens things up. And FlyQuest, in a 43-minute slugfest, will be able to edge out the win in the final game of the LCS Academy for today. Absolutely incredible stuff, and there you have it. From Tomo and NXI is another victory birth. FlyQuest go up 2 wins, 1 loss. Week 2 of the LCS Academy.
And with that, some questions have been answered on the side of FlyQuest Academy. When will NXI find that confidence to get back to what we are familiar with his journey from amateur? And seeing him on this Nidalee pickup has really given me some more promise into his journey moving forward through this season. I am very proud of how he was able to sort of tame Keel's early game aggression and then convert it to his own favor, where he was able to neutralize Kumo and Triple's situation to where they always had the upper hand. They always had that priority. And even though it didn't feel like Kumo was getting a lot of attention directly, it was a lot of just jungle presence, being near Kumo, giving him the confidence to continue going for trades, while Tomo and Dreams were able to manage the powerhouse of Wild Turtle and Hooks.
That Elder fight is all Kuma. He jumps in, he draws all the fire with the Mega Gnar, then he pops ult and CCs the backline. And yes, Tomo's the one actually doing the damage, but it is Kumo drawing all of the fire and building the space for Tomo to be able to provide that sustained damage that he's looking for.
Well, that and triple as well. It was something where Kumo had the capability to be that front line, but you can't count him all the way as the MVP because Triple and NXI were able to stall so well. The harassing spears from NXI's Nidalee, the soldiers positioning to just poke and prod at CLG's defenses to where you can delay for the Mega Gnar to come back up. And then once Hooks had found that death sentence onto Tomo, it was just Kumo being the hero of the moment and saying, we need to go now. I can't let them find the weak point here. I'm going to bring the fight to them. And the rest of the team followed suit and recovered the game from what was almost an absolute loss to a dominant performance in the end.
NXI is absolutely the player that got it there, and I think this is a watershed moment for him because we are finally seeing a little bit of that academy or a little bit of that amateur promise demonstrated in academy.
Yeah. So I'll be very excited for him moving on forward. But for tonight, it's been a late night for us and FlyQuest CLG, a banger of a game to end it.
Yeah, we do still have an interview with NXI, so we'll get to talk to him directly. I think the lessons from today are that our pre-prescribed order in the academy is nonsense. I said Immortal were one of my favorite teams coming into today, and Immortals got bodied by EG. And we have this whole mess where CLG are demonstrating they're here to play.
Curious, I believe we're just getting to figure out how to get that interview in with NXI for a moment, but it gives us a nice little breath from what was a very tense game between FlyQuest and CLG, which we've been waiting for almost all night with the delays and hiccups that they had.
We started today with like 30 minutes of us just trying to fill through tech issues, talking about that matchup. We were so prepped by the time it actually came around. And I can't be more happy that we finally got to see it, especially as we now get to talk to the man behind it, bringing in NXI from Team FlyQuest Academy.
Hello.
Hey NXI, how are you doing?
I'm doing alright. It was a pretty long game.
It was. I know you guys alongside us were waiting for that game all day, so it's a lot of fun to have you here in the Verizon post-game interview. Finally, that game started with you absolutely dominating on the jungle. I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but you have, I think, not seen the performances you had in amateur here in the LCS and in Academy yet. It's taken you a while to find your feet. Do you think you're getting over a hump here?
Not so more of getting over a hump. It's just learning more about the game through, the main team LCS and, my academy coaches and my teammates. So I'm just trying to learn a lot of things at once so I can refine my gameplay in the future and just toning down the aggressiveness a bit and just playing a more like a slow pace macro style to win games, because aggressiveness might hurt me in the future if I misplay or something, whereas if I learn better macro and stuff, the games can be a lot more clean.
Okay, that's an interesting point because of how the public perception is right now, with jungle being a very heavy carry position right now in the competitive meta, and sort of going to a point of saying you're pulling back your aggression and focusing more on macro plays. How has FlyQuest as an organization and sort of as a team sort of helped you pull in the reins and focus more into a more, I'd say, line of communication and working with those teammates?
It's not more of I'm pulling back my aggression. It's more of I'm just becoming better at reacting to stuff instead of and my teammates and my coaches help a lot. I think our whole team puts in a lot of work and everybody tries to improve, and every practice feels pretty I don't know the word, it feels pretty we're not wasting time, you know what I mean, and we're
productive.
working on, it feels productive, my bad. But we're just working on a lot at the moment, you know. But I think we're improving a lot every day through every scrim.
I mean, we can see it. The proof is in the pudding, as you guys did just put together a very, very good game win. But it was a rocky road. That game got dicey in the middle there. How did you guys feel, you know, we're talking around that Elder Drake fight where it was so down to the wire. What were the team comms like as you were balancing all your ultimates coming back up and trying to stall out that fight to a positive win condition?
Comms were pretty, you know, hectic. I think we started panicking after we messed up like the mountain soul, because I think we had a pretty clean game up until the 4th dragon, but we just talked about how we like easily went front to back and not to like, you know, panic too much and just understand what enemy champs can do and what ours can do, and if we play it properly, like there's just no way they can win. So we're just, you know, we like actually thought more about the fight than we did at Mountain Soul, because at Mountain Soul it was just it was a bit like hectic, and like a part of that is on me, so yeah.
Well, at the risk of fanboying a little much, I cast Challengers Uprising during the last season, so you are one of my favorite players making the jump into Academy, and I'm really excited to see what you guys are going to do over the course of this season.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
That'll be us. Thank you very much for your time as well, Coco. It has been delightful covering a day of games with you, even if it did run rather long.
Yeah.
Any closing thoughts on Academy for today?
Well, I think what we were talking about in our prep into today, where we were much more trying to focus on how the teams are going to be building identities and sort of philosophies around the players and the organizations themselves, has really start to come into fruition, and we're going to see those final steps in not only tomorrow but the next 2 weeks here, because of how short of a time that they have to really make a refined statement of what they want to do with not only the prospect players that they have, but also with the veteran voices that they are also mustering within their rosters to help create a not only productive environment, but also a very successful ecosystem within each other.
Yeah, it feels like it's a make it or break it moment, to use a phrase we've abused a bit much today.
Yep.
Across the entire League ecosystem, but especially here in Academy. There are more Academy games tomorrow. Our good friend Kangas will be taking the wheel. So you can be sure to tune in. You can catch all those games, the schedule, and more over at lolesports.com. Thank you so much for watching. My name's been TJ. That has been Coco. For now, have a great rest of your night.